Okay, today we're going to look at a nice little surface grinder. This is a Acer. This is their Supra line. This is the 818 AHD. So this is a 3-axis automatic. This is all original, clean factory paint. You've got a hand wheel mounted up here with your dial, so you can set your 0 point. And you have currently wired at 460 volts, 440 volts, 480 volts, but it's basically 460 volts. So over here you've just got your e-stop, and you've got a spindle on and hydraulic button on. You don't want to do that, so we'll shut that off again. So that's the hydraulics, pretty quiet, and the spindle. So in certain modes, any of the manual modes, there's a manual for surface and there's a manual for plunge. And when you're in those modes, these lights will be lit, so that allows you to do moving this up and down rapidly. And to come down close to your workpiece. And then when you get there, it has a slow, you can go slow also. And there's even a jog where it just will go like 1/10 at a time. The CROSSFEED, will only move if you're in the surface mode, not in the plunge mode. So you can move this in and out. And all of this can be worked by hand just as easily. So when these are lit up, you're in a manual mode, and as soon as you go into an automatic mode, they're going to go out. And you can no longer use them. They're disabled. So over here is for your down feed. The number 10 actually means the thousandths. And if I put in, or possibly it means a tenth, but I believe it means a thousandths in this case. If you want less than a thousandths, you go on 0, and you put the value in from 1/10 up to 9/10, and then when you got to go to a thousandths, then you go to here. And when you got 2/10 or 3/1000 or 2/1000, that's what that number is. And when we start this up, that will change. So we'll start the table moving. Now let's say we just want to do a automatic plunge. That means the saddle's not going to move. Only the vertical's going to move, and it's going to move fairly quick. So we start the cycle, and you see our hand wheel now is moving down each time the magnet gets, let's say, to the right side. And it'll continue doing that until it gets to 0. And 0 is really on this scale ring. When you move this scale ring, you're moving some kind of a sensor or something that makes contact with the sensor. So I have a little red dot next to the 0, and this is going to come down and get to 0 and then stop. And then it backs up. Now, it didn't back up a lot. Now, every time it's finished with a cycle, everything will shut off. The hydraulics have shut off, the grinding wheel has shut off. So now you've got to put that in the off position and start all this stuff up again. Get your table moving. All right, so we press the button, we start the cycle, and in the plunge mode, each time the table goes back and forth, we feed down. And we're feeding down the 2/1000ths each time that I have set in there, and then we're doing the amount of spark out passes that I have set in there. And now it's backing up to wherever you have this potentiometer set. You can adjust where that stops, so you don't have to go so far. So that's the plunge mode. So the next thing you'd probably want to see is the automatic surface mode, Again, that'll be with the lights go out. And we'll start the table and the wheel. And now we gotta get the cross feed. So once you hit the cycle start button, that cross feed will come in. That's electric. And over on the side here, we have dogs mounted that give it the signal to change direction. And each time it changes direction is when it's going to feed. Okay, so I've got the dogs really stretched out to the back. I'm just going to move them so they do it quicker. That's the back one. So we fed, and now we're going forward. I'm going to move this one a little bit forward. And then when we hit that, it's going to reverse and feed again. So there you go. So it'll continue like that down to the 0, and then it'll do a certain amount of spark out passes. Now if I put in 1 or 2, that means it goes back and forth across the magnet that many times before the cycle actually ends and the wheel goes up and the machine shuts off. So what you do is that by hand you'd come down, you'd touch your workpiece, and you would set your dial at 0, and you'd measure your part and find out how much more you had to take off, and then set your scale ring to that. Once you've set the scale ring at the proper 0, then you can back off the entire hand wheel just to give yourself the safety coming down onto a larger part that hasn't been ground. So you also have an over-the-wheel dresser with a little micrometer thing to bring the diamond up and down. You can dress your wheel like that. This is an indicator here for your oil. It's got a reservoir in the back of the machine which you put whey lube in, and it's got, when you take the covers off and get down in there, it's got a little manifold that has 3 or 4 adjustments for your saddle, for your screw, for your vertical column, all kinds of stuff. Here's your leveling pads. The hydraulic tank is in the back. So I think I've covered everything. That's the Supra 818. Nice little grinder. Thank you very much.